All right, welcome back to Vic in Iceland. This is late April. So another one of my friends, before we left for Iceland this past week, had just asked me about, if you were to do real estate again, would you ever do real estate again? Because we had invested in some rental properties in Brooklyn before, right after the crash in 2008, and then we sold in 2019. That's when I retired because I didn't want to work on anything anymore, including rental homes. Because believe it or not, even though they call it passive income, when you run rental homes yourself, that is not passive. I did some of the plumbing myself. I did a lot of the repairs myself. I built an entire roof deck by myself. Lugged every piece of wood up 4 stories up my multi-family home by myself. So that was at least like a quarter to a third of a job, because I was down there at my rentals every single week doing something. And every time somebody moved out, me and my wife would spend the entire night, multiple days, painting, cleaning, rebuilding stuff, rebuilding furniture, etc., cabinets. We did it all ourselves, and that's how you make money, right? That's how you make money, by doing things yourself. So would I ever do it again? Absolutely not. Even though I made a good amount of money in it, the only way that we made a decent amount of money, and the only way that we beat the S&P 500, and that is the benchmark, right? The last 15 years or so of the S&P 500 has returned us about 15% per year. So without lifting a finger, that is what you have to beat, 15%. And we handily, thankfully, beat that with our real estate portfolio for those 10 years. 2009 we bought right after the crash, and we sold everything by 2019. So that's about 10 years. We handily beat the S&P. Probably we were probably somewhere, it's been a while, probably somewhere around 25 to 45% return on our investment, cash on cash return. That's a whole other video. But the only reason we would ever consider going into real estate again, because my friends were thinking about, trying to, I guess, get wealthy fast, get rich fast. It doesn't work. The only reason why we made a decent killing on real estate was because it was half off. Okay? Most people think that, you just simply buy real estate and you get wealth, you get rich. That's how the rich get rich, by buying real estate. No, they don't. Right? The few that made it, it's like that survivorship bias, right? Those are the survivors. The people who did not survive, the people who only lasted 5 years, 10 years, just like opening up a business. Most businesses, right, 50% fail by the end of the first year. 85% fail within 5 years. So after 5 years, all you're really seeing are the survivors, the 10%, 15% that did well. So same thing with real estate. If you go into rental housing, I'm going to say 80 to 90% of mom and pops like you and me who are trying to get into it. Hey, buddy. What's up? You're all running. 80, 90% of you will fail, and you won't even realize it. You think you're not losing money, but you are. And you think you're making money, you're not. Especially compared to the S&P 500. The cash that you outlay, and the cash your down payment, the cash that you put in, and the work, especially the work that you put in every single month, that has a value. When you add all those things up, 80 to 90% of non-professionals like you and me are going to make no money or way less money than the S&P 500's 15% over the last 15 years. So unless you're willing to read like I did, my wife and I read for a whole year. We literally read about 100 investing books. And not only that, we spent thousands of hours on biggerpockets.com over the 10 years that we own real estate, reading how to do things. Okay? And that's what made us successful. That's what helped us to beat the 15% of the market in the S&P 500. These guys are going at it. Anyway, unless you're going to be educating yourself and extensively like that, you're going to end up being the bottom 80, 90% who are not going to make it. Sorry, but there is no getting rich fast. There is educating yourself by reading 100 books and by reading thousands of hours on biggerpockets.com, and then putting it to practice in real estate, and then you're getting a much better return than the average person. And also, you have to buy at 50% off. If not, you ain't making it. When the market drops by 10-20% and you're buying a house next door and you want to rent it out, you're not making any money. You're not making any money. All right, good luck. This is Vic Iceland.